This episode is brought to you by Jack Daniels. Jack Daniels and music are made for each other. They share a rhythm in the craft of making something timeless, while being a part of legendary nights. From backyard jams to sold-out arenas, there's a song in every toast. Please drink responsibly. Responsibility.org. Jack Daniels and Old No. 7 are registered trademarks. Tennessee whiskey, 40% alcohol by volume. Jack Daniel Distillery, Lynchburg, Tennessee.
At New Balance, we believe if you run, you're a runner. However you choose to do it. Because when you're not worried about doing things the right way, you're free to discover your way. And that's what running is all about. Run your way at newbalance.com/running.
I've definitely been spending too much time scrolling social media lately, and I can't stop thinking about the ridiculous health advice I've seen. I mean, seed oils are ruining us, apparently, and probiotics are going to save us. And according to social media, processed food is definitely poison. And I know hearing all of this and seeing it makes parents second guess themselves even more than you already have been. And it doesn't even matter how old your kids are right now. I know you're wondering, did I mess up my baby's gut having a C-section, or giving formula, or giving them Doritos, or filling that antibiotic prescription for an ear infection? And seriously, I think my 78-year-old mother probably still wonders if she messed me up and my brother somehow based on all of this. So I went digging for answers. I need to know, what is the real connection between gut health and the immune system and our kids' overall health? What effects have antibiotics and C-sections and all this modern stuff that comes with industrialization actually had on our kids? And maybe most important, I want to know, is there something we can do about it? The answer might surprise you, because it turns out, after all my research, you didn't mess up your baby or your kids, but industrialization actually might have, and I can't wait to tell you what I learned. I'm Dr. Wendy Hunter, and I'm the pediatrician next door. I'm that doctor friend you call for practical advice about your kids' health. I mix the science of medicine with the reality of parenting. Let's back up a little so you can see why this conversation matters. Okay, every week I take care of at least one baby who cries all the time, no matter what their parents try. They tell me they swaddle and rock and nurse on a schedule and nurse on demand, and they switch formulas. I've even had moms tell me they cut out dairy from their diet, and it seems to work for like a week. And then finally things are better, but then the crying comes right back. And those parents are back at square one. They're exhausted, and honestly, I'm kind of tired too, just listening to them. Sometimes, in fact, we pediatricians just throw our hands up, call it colic, and just tell them to wait it out. I also see kids with horrible eczema. More kids than I can count. At least half the kids in my practice, I swear, have some degree of eczema. And sometimes there's not even a family history of it. Parents look at me and they just want to know, like, why does my child have this? And I find myself asking the same thing, because these don't seem to be isolated cases anymore. Food allergies, eczema, asthma, they seem to be everywhere in childhood now in a way that I don't think they were there a generation ago. As a pediatrician, this is really hard to watch. I want to help. Parents want to do the right thing. And we all feel a little bit like we're missing the mark. Like maybe there's something else there. Maybe it's not the parent's fault at all. Maybe the problem is something bigger. And that's where today's guest comes in. I have Dr. Stephanie Culler here. She is a scientist and the co-founder of Persephone Biosciences. She started out studying the gut microbiome in cancer patients. Her original work focused on using gut microbes to make immunotherapy treatment for cancer more effective. But then her team turned to babies, and what they discovered was shocking. They started studying the microbiome. That's the whole community of bacteria and other microbes that live in your gut. And if you've heard the phrase gut health, you probably can picture adults taking probiotics, eating yogurt, maybe drinking kombucha. But for babies, gut health is something far more profound. In infancy, The microbes that are in their guts are literally training the baby's immune system, deciding how the child's body is going to respond to the world for the rest of their life. So let's start right there. What does gut health really mean for babies? Not the influencer version, not the social media version, but the science. Here's how Dr. Culler puts it. And just a note, she's recording from her lab, so you can hear people doing lab stuff in the background.
For infants and toddlers, it means something really specific. It's actually different than what it means for you and I. The infant and the toddler microbiome develop over the first about 3 to 4 years. So during preschool, from birth through preschool, it's developing extensively. It's dynamic. We found that infants have, on average, maybe like 12 kinds of gut microbes. You and I have over 400, for example. And so it's very, very diverse. And so for those 3 years, the microbiome is developing. It's going along child development, essentially. But the most important role of the gut microbiome is to train the immune system. The microbes in the gut are responsible for putting out the right signals to tell the immune system to develop properly. And without those key strains of bacteria, the baby's immune system won't develop properly. And that's why we think that there's such a significant increase in food allergies, eczema, asthma, these atopic disease type conditions.
When Dr. Culler says the microbes in a baby's gut create the immune system, here's what that means. When a baby is born, their immune system is basically a blank slate. It doesn't know the difference between something that's harmless, like a peanut protein or cat dander, and something that's dangerous, like maybe a virus. Those early gut microbes, those are the teachers. They take sugar from breast milk, break down the sugar, and in the process, they make chemical signals called metabolites. And those signals are what trains the baby's immune system. It teaches what is safe, what's a threat, and how strongly the baby should respond. Without those microbes, the immune system does not get the right lessons. It might overreact to harmless things that can lead to developing conditions like eczema, allergies, or asthma, or it can underreact to real threats that can leave kids vulnerable. We'll learn more about this in a bit. That's why Dr. Culler and her team launched the Microbiome study. It's the largest and most diverse infant microbiome study ever done in the United States. They collected stool samples, that's poop, from more than 400 babies across 48 states, all from different backgrounds, and looked at which microbes were present or missing in their gut. And what they found was, frankly, alarming. Here's Dr. Culler describing the initial results.
Really surprising results. So over 100 years ago, babies' microbiomes, we have microscopy evidence, we have evidence from the Amish that are living in the United States, the Old Order Mennonites, what the baby biome used to look like. It used to be flush with a particular type of bacteria, Bifidobacterium. Almost 100% of the infant gut used to be this one family of microbes. As we've done our study and looking at hundreds and now actually thousands of baby poop samples from the US, we've discovered that these keystone strains, or the pioneers, the foundation of the baby's gut, has started to disappear. And I think what really shocked us was that we found out that 9 out of 10 babies are missing these key types of Bifidobacterium. And moreover, 25% of them, so 1 out of 4 babies, simply had undetectable levels, that it was just gone, not there. And this is a fundamental type of bacteria that every baby needs. It's really important because obviously not all Bifidobacterium are equal. And so we, in our My Baby Biome study, in our Nature Communications Biology study, published on that there are kind of 4 types of infant Bifidobacterium. Bifidobacterium infantis, Bifidobacterium longum, breve, and bifidum. These are special Bifidobacterium because they can consume and break down prebiotics in breast milk, human milk oligosaccharides. Not all Bifidobacterium can do that. And that's what's really the key, I would say, huge difference between a Bifidobacterium infantis and a Bifidobacterium lactis. And as a consequence of being able to break down that prebiotic in breast milk, they also produce different metabolites. So the metabolism is different, and that's actually what the developing immune system needs.
When you hear that most babies are missing Bifidobacterium infantis, you might wonder, well, aren't there probiotics for babies? Can't I just give them that? Or isn't formula supposed to cover what breast milk can't?
When we think about feeding mode, one of the key differences with regards to the gut microbiome, breastfed babies are receiving special prebiotics that only feed the gut microbes, human milk oligosaccharides. We humans don't have enzymes to break down these prebiotics, but our gut microbes do. And that's in contrast to formula. Most formulas, infant formulas, don't have these prebiotics, or if they do, it's not likely not at a sufficient levels to feed, the entire gut microbiome.
Here's the problem. If you grab a can of formula or a bottle of infant probiotics off the shelf and read the label, you're almost always going to see Bifidobacterium lactis. That sounds close, right? But B. lactis doesn't do the same job. It doesn't know how to break down HMOs. HMOs are human milk oligosaccharides. Those are the special sugars that make up the third largest component of breast milk right after lactose and fat. But here's the fascinating part. Babies don't digest these sugars. The baby doesn't use it at all. So why does nature put something in breast milk that babies can't use? It's because HMOs are not for the baby. They are food for the baby's microbes. Specifically, they feed Bifidobacterium infantis, the microbe that's supposed to dominate in a healthy infant gut. That's the one that Dr. Culler and her team found was missing from most infants now. So, what parents think they're replacing when they give their baby a probiotic is not actually being replaced at all. There is not a product out there that provides the few bacteria that babies really need. And that missing link is exactly what Dr. Culler's team set out to solve. So, if breast milk is packed with these incredible sugars and Bifidobacterium infantis is designed to eat those sugars, the obvious question is, how did we lose it? How did most American babies end up missing this critical microbe in the first place? That's where this story takes a turn, because it's not about what you did or didn't do raising your kids. It's about bigger changes in the way we live, the way we give birth, and the way we feed our babies over the last 100 years. After the break, we'll talk about how industrialization changed the baby gut and how Dr. Culler's team is developing a synbiotic to bring these microbes back. And yes, I will explain what a synbiotic is.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just
speaking into the void?
But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
When did making plans get this complicated? It's time to streamline with WhatsApp, the secure messaging app that brings the whole group together. Use polls to settle dinner plans. Send event invites and pin messages so no one forgets Mom's 60th. And never miss a meme or milestone. All protected with end-to-end encryption. It's time for WhatsApp. Message privately with everyone. Learn more at whatsapp.com.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Insurance may all seem the same on the surface, but having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like getting a speech from your third cousin's +1 at your wedding when you needed a speech from your best man. You wouldn't settle for just any speech, so don't settle for just any insurance. When it comes to getting the help you need, State Farm is the real deal. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
let's get back to that question I asked at the beginning. Was it your C-section? Was it giving formula? Was it that round of antibiotics? Did you mess up your baby's gut? If you look at babies born in less industrialized parts of the world, they still have these microbes. Their guts are full of B. infantis. So why not here? The social media influencers are partially right. The answer isn't about individual choices that parents make, though. It's about the bigger changes that have come with industrialization, how we deliver babies, how we feed them, and even the environments we live in.
It's really modernization. It's industrialization. It's a number of practices. I would say antibiotics is a big factor here. Formula usage is a factor. Birth mode, so C-section births, because the babies don't necessarily get the microbes from their mother. They're getting exposed to the hospital environment and the skin microbiome. It's also diet. The Western diet and the modern, ultra-processed foods have an impact. So it's geography. It's all these different factors kind of in one. But we see that's a huge part of it. Antibiotics is very clear. Even when antibiotics are given to a young child, it's associated with a higher risk for developing atopic conditions. And so it's a number of factors, but it's really modernization. Some of these things that are life-saving are having some unintended consequences to the infant microbiome.
In my guilt as a parent for having had 2 C-sections, giving my babies formula some of the time, and as a pediatrician for prescribing antibiotics all the time, I had to ask this Caltech-trained synthetic biologist, Dr. Culler, whether these things have an effect. Are our houses too clean? Are we cleaning them up too much and not letting our kids play in the dirt?
That is a hypothesis as well that we think, because in our My Baby Biome study kind of illustrates this. Why do 1 out of 4 babies have no undetectable amounts of Bifidobacterium? It's just not even in the environment anymore. It's starting to go away. And so these things that our children were used to be exposed to, it's just too clean. And so really we should be thinking about that and letting our children be exposed to these common allergens, for example, and going out into the environment.
And I asked her specifically whether our abundant and overly cautious use of antibiotics has played a role in this.
Definitely. I think it's the whole suite. It's given to the child, it's given to the mother. We know about 1 out of 5 women in the last few months of pregnancy, have group B strep and are given a course of antibiotics. Several during the birthing process, many babies receive antibiotics in the hospital. And so all of it starts to have an impact on the child's ability to get these right microbes. Regardless of birth mode, regardless of feeding mode, these babies have compromised gut microbiome. So it's like every child. What we thought was for vaginally born breastfed babies as the ultimate is still the ultimate. However, we're still finding that a lot of these babies don't have the right microbes. So regardless of these differences, it's still happening across the board. It's highly prolific. But there are key differences. So with regards to birth mode, babies born vaginally are being exposed to the birth canal, so the microbiome there, but also the mother's gut microbiome, kind of given the location of where the child is coming out during birth, that's the first exposure. And so the child, namely through vaginal birth, inherits these gut microbes from their mother. That's the initial seeding for the child. And this is in contrast to babies born via C-section. They're born in the hospital, and so they're acquiring that environment initially, that microbiome, but also the skin microbiome. And so those are the common key differences, and we see that the microbiomes of those babies are quite different. And that's kind of what came out of our My Baby Biome study. The one thing that was really, I think, concerning about the My Baby Biome study is it's not just the lack of the right strains of Bifidobacteria. It was really the amount of potentially bad bacteria. For 3 out of 4 babies in our study, we found that they were at about 3 times higher at risk for developing those atopic conditions, the food allergies, the eczema, and asthma. But what was even more concerning, in addition to that risk, was that when the Bifidobacterium was either absent or in very low amounts, the wrong bacteria thrived. These are potential pathogens. These are toxin-containing organisms. These are organisms with much higher levels of antibiotic resistance genes. And this is in a newborn. What made me truly upset and emotional about this, because it was COVID when we started to discover what was happening, was that the microbiomes of these newborns resembled to what we had seen in advanced stage cancer patients. And I don't mean to scare parents. This was I was crying, literally crying, because parents have no clue that this is happening. I am a major researcher in the space. I had no clue. That's what actually the impetus was, that no, we have to fix this.
When Dr. Culler says we have to fix this, she isn't just talking about a hunch. There's already decades of microbiome research showing exactly which bacteria are missing and why they matter. The science is there, but here's the disconnect. While the research world knows which microbes digest HMOs and shape the immune system, most baby formulas and infant probiotics on the market don't include them. They are filled with different strains, like B. lactis, that sound similar but don't do the same job.
That's what our research is telling us, is that no, stop. Babies need something really specific to their needs. And so that's what we've used. And this has actually been, there's over 10,000 publications, scientific publications on the infant gut microbiome alone. And all of them are pointing to these key strains. There's just been, I think, a lack of or disconnect between the commercial companies and actually what's really important for the infant.
That gap between what the science says and what parents can actually buy is what drove Dr. Culler to create something new. She's a mom too, so her team designed what's called a synbiotic, and here's how she explains it.
Synbiotic is really just a fancy term for a probiotic, which is the bacteria, plus a prebiotic. Essentially, the prebiotics feed these good bacteria. So it is the synbiotic that I shared with you, but it's synergistic. That's actually a technical term for when the prebiotic specifically feeds the probiotic strains. So the prebiotic in our product are these human milk oligosaccharides. So we have a blend of 4 of them that are designed to mimic the mix of them in breast milk. And this product is solely based off of our My Baby Biome research. So when we did AI on the data, and it's real AI, it's not fake, we did AI, we discovered that there were 3 key species of Bifidobacterium: Bifidobacterium infantis, Bifidobacterium longum, and breve. And that's what's in this product. We then, in our lab here on Torrey Pines, isolated hundreds of strains of these Bifidobacterium from babies that had them. And then through our technology platform, which we have a poop on a chip, a microbiome on a chip platform that can screen these candidates, we found a formulation that looked like it could repair the microbiome of all of these babies and produce the right metabolites to engage the immune system. And so that's the formulation that ended up here. But what's even more unique about this, beyond that these are brand new strains thriving in babies today and healthy adults, is that it contains 2 strains of Bifidobacterium infantis, never done before. These, again, because we went to such an extensive depth, these 2 strains are the dominant ones in the United States and what we see globally. And so we thought, well, every baby needs B. infantis, but why should we be the one to pick? If nature is picking these 2, let's put this into the product. And so it contains these prebiotics, the probiotics, and then vitamin D, which I'm sure you can appreciate is kind of a holistic solution. So everything they need in one basically sachet, and it's powder. So no drops, no mess. From our clinical study, so we've conducted a clinical study, Artemis, which is the largest ever to be done in the United States for this type of product. But also we've had a lot of, outside of the clinical study, people trying the product, parents across the country, and even some, globally that have been really excited about the product. And what we've been hearing anecdotally has been just amazing. For some children, it's restored very consistent sleep. They might have been sleeping 8 hours and now they're consistently sleeping 10 hours, for example. But some of the things that we've been hearing that have been amazing is really, obviously regular stools, less tummy aches, all of that, which we would very much expect. This product reduces inflammation, kind of restores that right balance, but even more exciting, reduction in eczema, time between flare-ups, and even food allergies starting to disappear, essentially. They can start to eat eggs, for example, and even milk-based products. And so we've been hearing some really great things from parents. We expect that, and we're actually thinking about having a path for a therapeutic to treat and prevent eczema, for example, atopic dermatitis, and even food allergies.
There's more to come from this research. What Dr. Culler and her team have discovered about the microbiome is just the beginning. Right now, they've focused on helping babies get back the microbes they've lost, but in the future, this technology could change the way we prevent and treat disease across childhood and maybe even adulthood. And for parents who want to know what's available today, the synbiotic her team developed launches September 9th. That just happened. It's the first product designed specifically to restore B. infantis and give it the food it needs to thrive. I asked her if she gives it to her daughter, and she does. And she takes it herself and gives it to her own mother. So let's go back to where we started. Those desperate nights with a colicky baby, the kids covered in eczema, the parents who wonder if they've done something wrong. And what we've learned is this: you didn't mess up your baby. You did the best you could with the tools you had. And the real story is bigger. Industrialization changed our microbes, and now science is catching up to help us fix it. And that's hopeful because it means we're not powerless. It means we're beginning to understand just how much those tiny microbes matter and how supporting them might change our kids' health for a lifetime. Look for a link to buy this product in my show notes. If you found today's episode helpful, I'd love it if you shared it with another parent, grandparent, or even a friend who always asks you for baby advice. It's how more families find this show. And if you have a minute, I'd really appreciate if you left a quick review wherever you listen. It really helps me bring you more episodes like this one. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll be back next week with more science, more parenting, and hopefully a little more sanity for all of us. For more from the Pediatrician Next Door, find me on the web at pediatriciannextdoorpodcast.com. If you've got a question about the weird things kids do, send an email to hello@pediatriciannextdoorpodcast.com for a chance to hear your voice on the show. I'm Dr. Wendy Hunter, and I'm the Pediatrician Next Door. This show is produced by Red Rock Music. Make sure to subscribe and leave a review wherever it is you're listening. I'll be back next time with more.
For a limited time at McDonald's, get a Big Mac Extra Value Meal for $8. That means 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun, and medium fries, and a drink. We may need to change that jingle.
Prices and participation may vary.
Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.